Hello everyone, welcome to this new topic of Unit of Technical Analysis. Basically, we have started with this new series, which is Basic of Technical Analysis Stock Market for Beginners. Right? We have already covered two important videos, which are on Fibonacci ratios and Fibonacci analysis. You can just go through that. Right? This time we are going to start with a new topic, which is trend line. Right? Now we'll cover some basic things which are there, like what is trend. I mean, like there are three different kind of trends that we know: uptrend, downtrend, and sideways. Right? We are also going to see what is the time frame which is there. Let's say, for example, we are going to have a time frame of monthly, weekly, daily. Then there are hourly, like say 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 5 hours. These are hourly charts which are there. And apart from that, we have minute chart also, which is 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. 60 minutes is also there, but that has been considered in an hourly chart. So we are not considering that separately. But here, because we are considering the basic parts and we are talking about trend line, so we'll mostly go through monthly charts, weekly charts, and daily charts, right? Let's start one by one and try to understand what definitely is a trend and what is trend line, right? Now, what do you mean by trend, right? Let's go to Nifty. This is basically investing.com, and on that you will be able to find charts of Nifty, right? Now, we are talking about trend. What do you mean by a trend, right? Now, trend is something, let's say, for example, we are finding that, okay, this chart, the price has been continuously moving up, right? So this is called as an uptrend, right? Now, what happens in an uptrend? It's not necessary that the price will just keep on moving up. No, it's not like that. What happens is it creates a low, then we create a high, then we create a low, but this low is higher than the previous low. So this is like a low, then a high, then a low, which is higher than the previous low. So this is lower high, lower low, right? So in a similar fashion, it goes upwards, right? So we have a high, which is again, let's say for example, this high. This is low is higher than this low. So with this have a pattern which is continuously been created: higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So every low that you see is at least higher than the previous lows. This how it continuously goes up, right? So this kind of trend which is there, that is called as an uptrend, right? Where the price continuously keeps on moving on a higher side, right? So that was the first thing that we saw, that this is an uptrend, right? And now the time frames which are there, again, those would be totally different. How to draw a trend line, we'll also see that separately. But we're just talking about different kind of trends which are there, right? Then we have something which is called as a downtrend, right? Now, if you see this, probably this is a downtrend, right? Let's see the current downtrend which is there. Let's say what happens in a downtrend is you see patterns which are like a high, then a low, then we have a high which is lower than the previous high. So this is called as a lower high. Again, we get a lower low because this low is lower than the previous low. So this is lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Okay. So this kind of patterns are called as downtrend pattern, right? Where the price continuously keeps on moving in a downward direction. See again, if you see over here, we had a high, we had a low, we had a high which is lower than the previous high. So this is lower high. Again, we had a low which was lower than the previous one. Again, we had a high which is lower than the previous high. So a continuous pattern of lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low has been formed. I know probably this cannot be called as a lower low which is there because this hasn't crossed the previous price which is there. But at least till now, if you see till this part, yes, the pattern which has been created is a downtrend pattern, right? Now let's see what is there in a sideways pattern, right? If you see continuously, maybe probably specifically this part, right? I'll mark this with Fibonacci because we have already learned Fibonacci previously. Just continuously remove this high parts because we don't know, need them, right? We'll just try to focus only on this part, right? So this is called as something as a sideways market, right? A sideways market. We are seeing uptrend, we are seeing downtrend, now we are seeing sideways. Now what happens in sideways market is we have a low, we have a high. So the price keeps on fluctuating this between this high and low levels, this high and the low levels. So this is called as sideways market where there is no specific direction, but continuously maybe for few days or maybe for continuously a month's time or maybe more than that, the market may continuously there in sideways pattern where it is not giving a breakout in any of the direction. So till this part we can say that okay, or probably for this part we can say that okay, this was continuously a sideways market. There was no movement happening in either of the direction, right? There are other examples also. Let's say currently we saw that almost for 12 days we had a sideways market, right? So it was like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. It was continuously a sideways market, right? So this is something which is called as a sideways market, right? And there are different time frames which are related to that. So we saw trend which is there, and we'll see the time frames. Right now there are multiple time frames which are there. We are going to focus only on the monthly time frame, the weekly time frame, and the daily time frame over here, right? Time frames are specifically given on the left hand corner, right? If you see 5 minutes, 1 hour is 1 day, 1 month, and maybe other time frames which have been given over here, those have been selected. So we are going to focus only on the monthly, weekly, and daily part. Why? Because this is a beginner's video. Anything going into the details would be more of going into lower time frames, which becomes a bit complicated thing. So we are only going to focus on these three time frames which are there, right? I'll just remove this because this is probably not be needed to us at this time period, right? Let's say, for example, this is going to be a monthly time frame, right? Now, if you see in a monthly time frame, the market currently is more of in a sideways part, right? Because it is not moving or probably not giving a breakout in any of the direction, right? So it went up, it went up, it went down. Again, it tried to go up, but it didn't go in a specific direction. So it is like more of in a time frame which has been given, right? So this is called as a sideways market, right? Let's go to a one time frame lower than that, which is weekly. Now, what we see in weekly is if I draw probably a line connecting these two highs and extend it, right? What I say is a trend, right? A trend which is going in downward direction because this high had not broken the previous high or it is lower than the trend line which is there. So this is the trend line which is going downward direction, right? If we see the same part in lower time frame, that is daily part, again we'll be seeing the same kind of thing which is there, right? So this says specifically that okay, we are in a downtrend, especially for the daily chart and also for the weekly chart. But for the monthly part, it is more of in sideways, not in any specific direction as such, specifically see, right? So this is what we see specifically from the patterns which are there. That is for the different time frames which have been given, the market behaves in a different way. Same can happen for lower time frames also. Right? So we have seen trend, we have seen time frame which is there. Now let's see how to draw a trend line. Now trend lines are being drawn different in different ways for an uptrend and in a different way for the downtrend. Right? Let's see how we are going to draw this trend lines. Let's take an example of, for example, we have seen over here that we have seen a downtrend part. So for downtrend parts, we are going to see only the higher parts. That is the higher highs. We are not considering the low, but we are only considering the high and the higher highs, lower highs for that part, right? So what we see is if I consider this high and the lower high after that, let's say here it is at this point. If you want, you can get into the details. Let's say I'll just show you over here. For example, this high is 18604.45. So this is 604.45, and this is 350.95, 350.95, right? So if I join these 2 points, the higher side, I get a trend line, right? So this is how you draw a trend line for downtrend, right? Considering higher high and higher low. Let's consider something which is there for an uptrend, right? Uptrend, again, I do the same thing. I consider a low part. Excuse me. So we consider this as low of our previous low of the previous bear phase, right? And after that, probably I can just try to join the higher lows. So for example, if I'm joining over here, I see that okay, it has been cutting overall. So I go to the next part, probably somewhere over here. Again, I see that the next part has been cutting. So I go again to maybe probably this low. Okay, and I'll again do the same thing. Just mark down the lows so that it becomes easier for me. 7511.1. 511.1, right? And I go to higher low, which is probably this low, that is 15513.45, 15513, 13.45, right? So I considered one low. This was the previous low, that is lower low. And this is the lower high. So I get a pattern which is lower high, sorry, low, then high, low, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So consider this point, right? And if you see exactly what has happened is, after this part, maybe probably the trend did cut over here. It did go down. It took a support, tried to take a support of this part, and then again it went down. Again, it tried to take a support, probably tried to go up, but it didn't go up. Again went down. And again, at this point, if you see exactly, it tried to just touch these points, and then again from here, it started going down. It happens many of the time. This is called more of the trend reversal points, right? You'll be able to identify this kind of points in several ways. We identified just one more point over here, right? And then we saw for sideways. Now, if you see for sideways, again, we are going to draw a trend line. It's not going to be a trend line, but it's going to be more of a range. As we saw it previously, this is going to be the same way. This is going to see a range, right? Or probably we'll just take a recent example that we saw. a week or two back, where we had also seen this point very precisely, and from here the market started moving up. So what we say is we saw how to draw a trend line for those parts, right? Now the next topic is there is something called as strong trend, and there is something called as regular trend, and there is something called as weak trend. Now, how to identify that the trend is strong? There's going to be a very peculiar part which is there. Probably, if you see any of the videos, you won't be able to identify how we need to find out something called as strong trend. Now, how to identify a strong trend, right? Excuse me. Now, there is no particular way of finding anything called as a strong trend or a weak trend, right? What we have, see, because the the name of the channel which has been given is unit of technical analysis. So everywhere we try to find out a unit for everything, whatever we are talking about, right? So here also we'll try to find out a unit, and what we have is on the x-axis we have days or the time period which has been given, and on the y-axis we have something called as price. So anything that we need to find out would be in either in terms of number of days and the time period which is there, right? So what we do is we just take down a very simple formula. We find out the low, right? Now the low over here is 7511.1, right? We'll take that. So I have considered this, or probably I'll just try to take a new example so that things will be easier just to find out for the first time. 7511.1, and we take down the date for that, right? The date over here is 24th 3 2022. 24th 3 2020. All right, and now we go for the high of probably this bull market, or the high till now. The high of till now has been 18604.45. 18604.45, and the date is 19/10/21. So we'll take that date 19/10/21, right? So what we'll do is we'll just try to find out how many points have been there. For example, this was the high, this was the low. So we got somewhere around 11,100 points. And again, talking in terms of the days, it was 574 days. So we're just talking about calendar days. We'll convert that into trading days also, right? So what I do is I just need to find out average how many points have been gained on an average per day. So what I do is I divide this figure by the number of days. So I get somewhere around approximately 19.3 points. So every day on an average, Nifty has been going up by 19 to 20 points. We just consider 20 points, right? So this is on daily basis, that is calendar days. We'll try to move this in terms of right. So what I did is I just tried to multiply this by 7 and divide it by 7, divided by 5. Why? Because 5 is the number of trading days that we have in a week. So on an average, on daily basis, we get 19 points, and on trading days, we get somewhere around 27 points per day. So this is a unit that we can consider that on an average, we are getting somewhere around 27 points per day, right? So this is the unit that we have got, right? Now what we see is if you need to identify a strong trend, Now, generally, strong trend, what do you mean by strong trend? We see that a strong trend is generally a bounce back after a steep fall. Let's say, for example, we saw that here it was a steep fall, and after that, it did bounce back. But is this a strong trend or not? Or what is the strength of this trend? Let's try to find out in terms of only this two things which are there, that is daily number of points which have been gained and the trading days point which have been gained, right? Again, we saw for the same day. Probably I'll just mention those dates over here so it will be easier for us for calculation, right? So again, if we see the low which was there, it was 16410.2. So that has been mentioned, 16410.2. I'll just mark this in yellow probably. And the date was 2012 21, 2012 21, right? And we go to the higher part. The higher part was this date. It was 18350.95, 18350.95, right? And the date is 18th 122. So 18/1/22, right? And we apply the same formula. So we got somewhere around 1940 points, and the number of days was 29. And if we calculate that in terms of the points which is there per day, it is somewhere around 67 points. Now, if I compare this in terms of the number of days which are there, that is almost 3 times. So this is a very strong trend that we have. Trading days is again almost 3 times of that, 4 times rather. So this we can consider as a strong trend. Let's try to have one more example. So we had a strong reversal over here. We had one more strong reversal over here. So again do the same thing. The low was 15671.45. 15671.45. The date was 18/3. Here we'll confirm the date 8/3. Right. This is again being confirmed. The high was 4422 date 4422, and the points was 18114.7, 18114.65, right? So all this we have confirmed. We get somewhere around 2443 points, and number of days is 27, right? Again, this is somewhere around 90 points per day, and calendar days wise it is 126. Again, we can consider that okay, this pullback which was there was much more stronger than this one, right? So now you get an understanding of strong trend, how it is there and how we need to calculate that. So on an average, if you say that this 19 points per calendar day or 27 points per trading day, if we excuse me, if we consider this as 45 degree, which is half of 90, right? Because we don't need to give any kind of bias to any of the things, so we are just considering 45 degree. If it is above this, probably maybe double of this from 19 or maybe 20 to 40, it is there. We can consider the angle to be somewhere around 60 degree. But if it is more than that, almost double to that, or maybe 3 times of that, then we can consider that the angle is somewhere around 75 degrees. I mean, approximately as a thumb rule that we are considering, not more than that, right? So this is how we can consider as a strong trend, stronger trend. And for stronger trends, you can see that the points of number of points which are there, that are almost huge. Let's say in terms of Fibonacci, if we need to calculate how many points we are getting, if I draw Fibonacci here, and I need to identify till how long the trend has gone. So I can see that it has almost gone to 2.618. So exactly probably this touch this point 650, and this is 361. Probably we need to just adjust points over here so that we can get the exact location. But this is how it is. When generally we get a strong trend, it goes above 1.618, somewhere around 2.618, right? Anything which is less than that probably can be considered as a weak trend. Let's try to take some example, right? See, if we see over here, probably again this is finding in a more of range bound way. So we can see that okay, this is something weak. Again, same thing over here. We can find something weak. Again over here, we are finding something probably weak because it hasn't given that kind of movement still now, right? So this strong trend, regular trend is somewhere around 45 degrees. If we see that the number of points which are there are almost equal to the daily trading points, which there, or maybe almost double of that. Till that point, it can be called as a regular trend. Weak trend is something which is less than that, right? Now, how to trade this? Excuse me. Right. Let's say we are talking about the monthly part. Again, we may be probably considering the Fibonacci because here it has been considering more of a range bound part. We knew that okay, fine, a range has been formed. It has gone on the top side. We can start probably shorting over here. It goes down. It is not crossing the low, or probably we can just tail our stop loss over here and move out of the trade. So this is how we can do in our monthly part. If you see in a weekly part, again you see definitely various kind of candles which have been formed. For example, this was a bullish engulfing. This is an evening star that we got. So probably on the basis of candlesticks, you can again trade, or maybe on the basis of Fibonacci also we can trade, right? Again, if we see in terms of daily, yes, probably we can get a range which is there. Again, different kind of candles which are there on the top side, or maybe on the basis of the trend line which is there. So either of the parts, whichever it is there, you can definitely trade that. And whenever we get some kind of reversals at the bottom, probably we can just trail our stop loss and move out of that, right? So this is talking about trend lines which are there. We saw what is the trend. We saw the uptrend which is there, downtrend which is there, and sideways trend. We saw that for different time frames, there are different trends which are there. So we should trend more of on the basis of the time frame that we like. Because for one time frame, probably it is a downtrend, and for other time frame, it may be probably more of a range bound or a different time frame or a different trend. Just like we saw for monthly part, it is more of a range bound trend which is there, right? And for daily, probably it has been a trending one. So that's how it is there in a different format and different way. If you are trying to trade by trend line, don't go below uh, daily candles because it becomes very difficult because you don't get a specific trend, and whenever there is volatility, you see a huge volatility part, or which it becomes very difficult to trade across. Right, we saw something which is called a strong trend, how to identify them on the basis of the calculation which is there. So we got a thumb rule now, a unit basically, we are able to identify those things. And we also see how we should be able to trade for monthly, weekly, and daily parts. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any kind of doubts, please do get back to me. I'll be able to solve your queries. And one more request is uh, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Unit of Technical Analysis for Trading, and also join our Telegram channel, which is again the same Unit of Technical Analysis. Okay, thank you so much. Bye. Take care.